and welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Ron Zionpour from Healthee.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the DATAVERSITY Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at DATAVERSITY, and this is My Career in Data, a DATAVERSITY Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to talk with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we are joined by Ron Zionpour, Chief Technology Officer at Healthee. And normally, this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest, but in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Ron, hello and welcome.
Hey, Shannon, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this today. I'm excited to hear your story. So tell me, you're the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer at Healthee. So for those who may not know, what type of business is Healthee?
All right. So yeah, Healthee is a SaaS B2B company with a great and pretty simple mission. We want to give people access to better healthcare without any effort. We use AI-based technology and data to turn something that is usually confusing into something clear and easy. You can think about Healthee as kind of, your personal guide to your health benefits. We help people understand their coverage, what things cost, which doctors are in network or out of network, how to make smart choices and, save money for themselves and their employer. And one thing I love saying is that, people do not, at least most of the time, do not think about health insurance the way they think about other products, right? On average, people spend like $10K a year on health plan, obviously themselves and their employer altogether. But most of them, they don't know what they get in it or how to use it properly. And I sometimes ask people when I introduce Healthee is, would you spend $10,000 on a box from Amazon without knowing what's in it or how to use it? And obviously the answer is, of course not. And that is how we see people actually feel about their, benefits today. And that is exactly the problem we're solving at Healthee, because the health insurance is not an option for anyone. Everyone has to pick one, and it's not just their medical, their dental or vision plans. It's also their voluntary benefits like life insurance, for example, or disability. And then you have all your point solutions and extra programs from your employer. And on top of that, it's actually not just for yourself, it's for yourself and your family. And it gets complex and expensive very quickly. Both for the employee and the employer. And our job here at Healthee is actually to make all of that simple and clear using AI and data so people can actually understand, what they have and how to use it.
Oh, I love that, because I am one of those who have struggled. What do I have? I was just looking it up the other day. What do I have?
Yeah.
So that's great. So as the CTO, what is it you do? What's your day look like?
So,
yeah,
I think like I can probably split it into, probably three or four kind of big pillars, the way that I see my role, at least. It's obviously the first and foremost is our business and our goals as a company. Now focus on understanding our business needs and the company goals, and obviously translate that into our product and technology. Helping, kind of turning or kind of achieving the business opportunities and goals using the technology and the product that we have and kind of deliver. The second pillar I would say probably is the leadership collaboration. So I'm working obviously, with the rest of the leadership, the head of departments. So we collaborate to stay aligned and to kind of move in the same direction as a company. The third one would be probably the product itself. I lead what we call here at Healthee the makers team. Those are, the people who build and make the product that we deliver here at Healthee. The product management team, the product designers, the R&D all together, working on obviously turning business goals into the features and the real solutions that we have for our customers. And obviously the rest is, the fourth pillar probably, and the rest of my job is obviously the people themselves, like the team itself, working with the people, make sure I spend a lot of time to make sure that, they are kind of, they have what they need to grow, to succeed, to keep building our product and kind of move blockers along the way. So if you want to kind of to summarize that in one sentence, I would say that my role is kind of connecting our company vision and goals into execution using our product and technology, obviously.
Very, very nice. And I love that you mentioned that a huge part of your job is managing the people. I think so many people, I don't think, realize what a big piece of the C-suite that role is.
Yeah, I agree.
So tell me, how do you specifically work with data in your job? What data are you using day to day?
So I think maybe before I jump into the data itself, I want to share something I always say. I think like a lot of people put a lot of focus on technology, mainly in the recent, 2 years, people focus on AI-based technology, LLM, generative AI, and so on and so forth. And there's a huge hype around it. And I want to say that, I'm seeing Healthee and what we do at Healthee with that statement is like, I think like AI and technology is our accelerator, but data is our moat. And I think what we've built here at Healthee is mainly because we have a strong data and data entity and data model behind it. So at Healthee, if to speak about kind of the data that we use at Healthee is that we collect and understand everything in person's benefit, right? That includes the medical, the dental, the vision, everything that I stated, kind of mentioned before, all the pieces we talked about, like, things like provider information, their plan designs, facilities data, networks, procedures, prices, people deductibles, everything that is affecting their healthcare and, health benefits and can help us helping them navigate better in that world. And on top of that, what we do is adding into our data layer everything that is around, medical conditions, symptoms, CPT codes, everything around pharmacy, for example, and a lot more. And all of that is to create the best data that we can bring into our product and our AI-based technology. Every small piece of data, I think, in my opinion, at least matters. I think what makes it so unique and Healthee so unique is that over time we just enriched more data into our platform and created the better granularity and more details into our data layer. In my day-to-day, at Healthee at least, I also look at the kind of privacy and security aspects of data, obviously, and how we kind of connect all of them together, all the entities and all the data sources that we consume and digest into Healthee. We are starting with analyzing, unstructured data, which is very complex and not so easy to digest, and kind of combine that with structured data, and that is consisting of our data model today. So I would say that there's a lot about data at Healthee and a lot about my day-to-day, at least with data at Healthee. I think the accuracy in what we deliver comes from the data model that we build, which really gives us or allowing us to give people answers they can trust and help them make good decisions about their care.
I'm so glad that you bring that up. It's such an important point. So many companies rush into AI because it is an accelerator, right? There's so many advantages to using it. But if you don't have that moat, if you don't have that foundation to build on, we've seen it go awry.
Yeah, I agree. And I always say, by the way, that, when we introduced Zoe, for example, which is our AI assistant, people tend to confuse it with ChatGPT, and I always say we didn't aim to change to build something that is ChatGPT like. There's a lot of hallucination, there's a lot of satisfaction from talking with ChatGPT, and that's not the idea behind what we built here at Healthee. We started with data because we know that with the ground truth and a solid ground truth of the best data that we can put here and a very controlled AI based technology, we're leveraging over obviously LLM and generative AI, but we do it in a very controlled and kind of structured way, so we can deliver the kind of the outcomes that we bring to those users and our customers.
That's great. We've seen a lot of, we do see that, healthcare, financial industry have been, much further advanced because of the regulations around their data.
I think so. Yes, I think it's not about advanced though, because we are using the most recent technologies out there. I think it enforces us because of the regulations to put the safeguards that other markets might not have to deal with it, and we are facing it today, and it's super important, and it's affecting everything that we do on the day to day here at Healthee as well.
And do you think that gave you a motivation to have that data model and have that your data structured?
100%. Yes, I think it does that, and I think it's also enforcing us in a way to kind of rethink or thinking twice before we deliver something to consumers and users, right? It's not about just bringing the value, it's about bringing an accurate value to our users.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of industries that aren't so regulated be resistant to data governance and thinking it's a dirty word, but it really, the industries who've had to implement it, I think, have been set up to mobilize quickly on these new technologies.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. So let's talk about how you got into this role. So tell me, Ron, when you were very young, say 6 years old, was this the dream? Did you say, I'm going to be a CTO at Healthee? I'm going to be a CTO at a health company?
I don't think if you were mentioning the 3-letter CTO at the age of 6, I wouldn't know what that is. So obviously just to say that I haven't dreamed about obviously being a CTO. I think even programming wasn't at my kind of earliest hobbies. Actually, I was more into electronics back then. So I grew up in the 1990s. Obviously, there were obviously computers out there, and I know a lot of friends were dealing with programming, but my father was actually dealing with electronics, and it kind of, picked me as well. So I started with, and I always saw myself, by the way, as kind of a problem solver or a creator. And I started with, take things apart, like all the electronics, things like old radios and flashlights, and actually put them back together in a different way. I always wanted to turn something that is very old into something that is more useful for me and more exciting. And I had a lot of crazy ideas back then at the age of, maybe a bit later than 6, but obviously when I was young. And I think it's, maybe probably the strongest memory that I have, at least, from my childhood. So although, it wasn't really what I wanted to do, as kind of, continue with electronics, I knew that I want to at least do something like that, bring values and create something that is better and new for myself and later on, obviously, for others as well. And I think today, the funny thing is that I'm doing something that is very different today, right? But still, it's kind of probably the same thing. So, my answer would be a yes and a no. No in the fashion that I wouldn't know what CTO is and not even dealing with programming. But today, actually, I'm lucky to reassemble a lot of different parts, different data sources, and using best, kind of cutting edge technology, reassemble that into something that is, creating a better world, not just obviously for people like us, for our customers and our users. So it's kind of the same thing, and it's kind of a great closure the way that I see it. But in a different market, different landscape, different role, different position, different technology, obviously, but I'm still like taking a lot of pieces and connect them together to bring something that is way better than what you could have without that, without Healthee in general.
Visit dataversity.net and expand your knowledge with thousands of articles and blogs written by industry experts, plus free live and on-demand webinars covering the complete data management spectrum. While you're there, subscribe to the weekly newsletter so you'll never miss a beat.
It's a great initial passion that you were born with, and that innate curiosity that we found and talk about on this podcast a lot, that data people kind of is very common amongst data people, that they're curious, how does this work? How do I put it, like you say, how do I put it back together? But so tell me, as you start studying, as you're getting older, where did your passion start leading you towards? What do you start studying? Where did you start?
Yeah, I think like probably, when I kind of reached the college age, I started to see like, how can I turn kind of, myself as being a problem solver and want to make an impact on the world and kind of take like or solve challenging real world problems. I started to think, okay, which way should I pick, obviously, and what should I do to kind of accomplish that? And it took me to technology, to programming, because I was really good at math and science, and it was kind of my path on direct path on making impact and take something that I feel like I'm going to be good at. So I went to study my degree at computer science. Even before finishing it, actually, I started as as a student job, kind of in a large corporation, and it felt nice actually, because I really, as a student, it's important for you to start actually do something that is real and not just study all day. But as soon as I finished college, actually, I looked at my position, my full-time position now in the same corporate, and I felt like I'm not doing the kind of the impact that I promised myself that I would make. So I left and joined actually an early stage startup, which is since then it's my passion to do something from scratch and build things from bottom up. And I started actually in a startup that is in the ad tech industry, so completely different industry than today. And I stayed there for probably more than 8 years. I would say eight and a half years. I started as a junior developer and actually ended up as VP of engineering. Throughout that years, I kind of grew with the company. I started when we were like probably 60 people and ended when we were about 500 people at the company. And I learned a lot about myself. So I knew like I'm starting to love working with people more than I love writing the code myself, but also at the same time being very strategic. I love leading others. I also care about kind of the details. And I immediately thought about, okay, if I'm not going to be like hands-on and write code, then at least I'm going to stick to, the details that we have, the technicals and data decisions that we're making as a company. And I always made sure that I know the platform better than anyone else. After those 8 years, I decided to move on to another market and a different product, actually. So I started to, at the company, SaaS product company called Monday.com for a while. I joined there to build a new product also from scratch and kind of build team around it, which is, as I said, always my passion. And that is the first time that I actually saw not just technology and data, but also how product consumerism and user experience working together with it. And I fell in love with that combination. And actually, since then, I just moved to Healthee about 3.5 years ago. I think it's the best professional decision that I've made. It brought together everything that I care about. I think people, technology, data, and also the chance. I think I'm a very lucky person to have that chance of helping others in a very real way and solve something that is, I feel at least, it's a necessity in the US healthcare system.
Yeah, I would agree. That's quite the journey. So, what's been your biggest lesson so far in your career?
I think the biggest lesson is, I wouldn't say it's a one case, probably. It's kind of, uh, I learned it throughout the years in many cases or many events that I saw. And it's what I called, and actually being called Mount Stupid from the Dunning-Kruger effect. I don't know, if that is something that you're familiar with, but, for anyone that is listening, obviously I'll share that, Mount Stupid, like by Dunning-Kruger, they claim that, as people learn a small amount of, knowledge or anything about a specific subject, their confidence actually grows very fast, right? It's not linear; it's being exponentially growing, and they feel like they understand everything. But as us people obviously learn a little more, we suddenly realize how much we don't know yet, and then our confidence obviously drops dramatically. And after a while, when we get more knowledge around that specific area or subject, then obviously it's starting to grow, but this time naturally and obviously in a healthy manner. And I think that is a very great example and very good lesson learned, to be able to even understand that, mouth stupid, so you can avoid that from time to time. And if I need to give some examples, like if you take even Healthee as a whole and as a platform and what we solved in that domain, the benefits navigation domain looks, simple from the outside. Sometimes I know that people understand how complex benefits can be, but they can see that solution is something that is might be very easy to solve, but it requires a huge amount of knowledge and expertise. And there is, the platform itself, the relationships that we build in our data entities, the challenges that, of bringing a lot of data sources into one data model, kind of connect everything all together. And obviously on top of that, to create the technology and the product and the features that we deliver. And think about the level of knowledge that you need to gain. And I always say to people that are joining us, like that example with Mount Stupid, is that don't be too hurry to make some assumptions. Make sure that you learn all the things that you don't know yet. And by the way, a great example around that, if I need to even take like one team or one example, like of we work in squads at Healthee, so each squad is responsible for a different domain or a product. So 2.5 years ago, actually, we started something new, kind of a complementary product to our navigation tool, around benefit decision support. And we call that tool the plan comparison tool. It helps people choose the best benefits for themselves during the open enrollment, right? We all need to pick a new health, kind of medical, dental, vision plans, all the voluntary benefits all over again once a year. And because of that, we developed obviously the plan comparison tool, to kind of lay out all the different options for their employees so they can pick the best options for themselves and their families. And think about like a team that we formed around this specific product and domain. Think about the complexity of understanding, how users see all the comparisons of different plans, how we are going to kind of translate that language, that heavy language of health insurance, into something that is digestible for them and they can make decisions around that. But there's a lot of knowledge to gain here. And the trick here is, and you can see it throughout the time, that you always climb into that Mount Stupid and realize what you don't know yet. You just realize that there's like 10 other layers that you just didn't, discover yet. And the idea around it, and I think that's the lesson learned here for everyone, is be aware of that Mount Stupid. You can sometimes only see it when you do kind of retrospective with yourself. But if you are aware of that and you kind of focused on understanding what you don't know yet, then it puts you in a situation that you can, of course, avoid Mount Stupid. What we usually do here at Healthee is that we work very closely with customers, with users, obviously, to get feedbacks and to always seek of the things that we do not know yet and how we can improve our product and platform overall. And I think that by itself, just avoiding us from getting into that situation that we think that we cracked something, but there's a lot of things that we need to improve still. So yeah, that is my kind of lesson learned.
Great lesson. I hadn't heard that term before, but it's, it kind of sounds like the wave of our own human development, right? As teenagers, we think we know everything, or at least I did.
We do it
And then
as an adults as well. So
yeah. And then you grow out of that and realize that there's, you don't suddenly reach a point where you know everything. That there's just always going to be things to learn. It took me way too long to figure that out, but it's such a great lesson when you do, and just open your mind to always be learning, never, having to say, I know everything, because it's impossible. And,
I agree.
yeah. And I was just talking to somebody recently who was constantly surveying their customers, and mentioned that, they didn't like when they got back all positive feedback, because that prevented them from knowing how to grow and how to be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, so tell me, Ron, with this mode of data that you work in, what is your definition of data?
Yeah, I think just even for myself, like there are many definitions for data, because I'm an engineer. I'm as you said, like a C-level, right? I'm in the leadership. I'm thinking about the business. We have a company to run. We have a product to build, right? And I think when each time I'm wearing like a different hat and different position in that aspect, it's like I'm seeing data differently. So I'll start with something that I strongly connect with. I think data is kind of the ground truth of everything that we do. And actually, I want to start with kind of the um, interpersonal aspects of data. I run into and I work with a lot of stakeholders, and I always have that thing that I'm saying, like, we can sit here and argue for weeks on opinions. We'll never agree probably on that, or we can just bring data to table and kind of discuss that and look at facts. So I start with that because I think like that is a great explanation, the way that I see it at least, and talk about data. The fact that data is kind of the ground truth of everything that we do. Data are facts, are things that we lay out that we can look at, and without any opinions sometimes we can interpret that obviously differently, but at least it's something that you cannot argue with numbers, right? On the technical side, I would say that especially in a company like Healthee, data is kind of the fuel for everything that we do. I think it's not only the ground truth, but also powers the technology that we build obviously here, and the product that we are offering to our users and customers, our AI technology and features that we bring obviously to them. And as I said before, data is kind of our moat. It is what gives us, our edge and what makes us different. We know a lot of companies that try to kind of crack something within any market. They're trying to use technology, but in my opinion, that's by itself just not sufficient enough, right? And today at Healthee, we have access to a lot of data, and the insights we can create from it are amazing. Just recently, by the way, we started to work on claims insight and fraud, waste, abuse for our customers. That's a new domain that we're entering right now. And we are using, customers' claims data with our algorithms kind of to find, saving opportunities and cashback, and save millions of dollars back, a year for them, and using insights from their claims. So think about it, that all claims, comes with mistakes. That is something that is a fact, not an opinion. And our algorithms are just running that through their claims, the customers' claims, just to find those mistakes. Also, another thing that we do is finding programs they should adopt, probably, things like weight loss or diabetes or mental health or anything else that is derived from their users, their employees, and their claims. And that is something that, the way that I see it, if I need to kind of think about how we started that new initiative, is that we knew we have the data. We knew that we can use the data. We knew it's a ground truth of everything that we build. Now it's just another technology around that, and how we build the best technology around that to provide kind of value to our customers. So we do a lot today at Healthee, but if I go back, when we started, we understood the power of data, I think, very early, even before the Gen AI boom, and the amazing capabilities that we have today with all the features and the products that we added throughout the years. Um, you know, Kind of we built our business on top of the data. So we saw it right at the beginning that if we build it correctly using data, then sky's the limit probably with the features and the products that we can create above that. And even now, by the way, it's like we continue to kind of improve that. So we are entering a new year. I'm running right now with the team a major data project that is focusing on improving the existing. So kind of going back to what I said before, we know what we don't know yet, and the same goes for our data. We know what we're still missing in our data, and we improve that all the time. We look for more data points, increasing the level of granularity in our data, and kind of feeding our system with richer information. And I'm mentioning it here because people usually think about product, they think about the features that they can bring. But I'm saying because we know data is kind of the base layer of everything that we have, then if we improve it just by itself, we can create way more features and way more accurate kind of experience for our users and customers as well. Healthy.
Very nice. And let me ask you, as a company whose culture is really based all around data, and as a manager who's hiring people who work with data, do you see the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
Yeah, of course, I can only answer from the way that I look at the world and the problems and the market that I'm in right now. So, I can, share my opinion that, we all see the massive changes happening in tech right now. And I kind of talked about it before, is like in the last 2 years around generative AI and everything. And I think like there are two big directions to look at right now. The first one is actually people using AI technologies or AI tools out there like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using. That alone is already dramatically affecting many markets today and replacing or improving a lot of the tools that we use today. And like any other revolution, probably new startups will grow from this, and many products will need to evolve to stay in the competition, obviously. But I think the second direction is actually even more interesting to me. It is the access of building in new technologies. I think the bar today is much lower than I started, 15 years ago. I took a full degree to learn how to program. And even if I was keeping the kind of the degree and learning it myself, it would take me a while probably to learn how to write code. And obviously to get to a position that, as this kind of a senior engineer, I would say that I'm not just writing code, I'm following best practices and so on and so forth. And the funny thing is that today, my 10-year-old kid can build a full video game using, a GPT-based code editor, right? And the access to create software has never been easier the way that I see it. And in my opinion, that's even it's a more dramatic change than just using the technologies out there. And I think, and again, opinion, and if I need to guess, I think that is exactly why everything I said before is important around data, and why data is kind of the core of everything that we do. I think data becomes a real differentiator these days, even more than before. You can build feature faster now, so and you can build prototypes faster now, but you cannot fake like high quality data. I think companies will continue to invest more and more in data because it is one thing that gives them kind of an edge, and something that no one else can run with any GPT based tool. Um, and when I speak with people about what we do at Healthee, I think they immediately run into kind of I can probably build something similar to that with ChatGPT. And as I said before, we never uh, created Healthee to be something like ChatGPT, and because ChatGPT is great, but it's very limited and very risky to use in a world like us. And because of that, I think like everything that is related to bring all the data, like think about yourself using ChatGPT. To get to something like Healthee, you will need to tell ChatGPT like all your employer programs, your point solutions, your health benefits, your medical, your dental, your vision, all your voluntary benefits. You will need to connect your claims into ChatGPT, your accumulators like deductibles and so on and so forth. And just to kind of explain the complexity, you can just simply not do that. And the reason that I'm mentioning it here is because, kind of going back to your question, is that I feel data is something that will never go away and actually will even increase. And the importance of data will increase with it. So I don't know if the number of jobs will increase, obviously, over time. No one knows, obviously. But I think like if I need to kind of put my bet on the importance of data, it's going to be increased dramatically. And my opinion is that data will stay, the center of many companies, as well as the quality of data, security, privacy, anything around building insights and dashboards and so on and so forth. So yes, I do think that data management related positions are going to increase at the end of the day, or at the end of the decade, probably.
I like it. So what advice then would you give to people looking to get into a career in data management?
Yeah, so I always tell people, even when they join Healthee, regardless of data management position, but same goes here, I think, for data management positions, is like be aware of what the company is trying to achieve. I think like the biggest thing that anyone can do when they enter into a data position, for example, or any company, is to start by learning the domain behind the data. Do not look at the data only through a technical lens. I think sometimes people kind of, and I'm speaking obviously as a CTO, but there are other data management related positions, obviously, but people think about what they bring to the table in terms of their skill set, right? But it's not about the skill set. I think it's about the mindset. I think it's about understanding the business, understanding the short-term goals and the long-term goals of the company that you're joining. Many data roles are not just about running queries or building dashboards, right? They're about improving what already exists. They're about finding insights that move the company forward. And to do that well, you need, strong foundations that can support the company for many years, not just a quick fix, for now or for tomorrow. And kind of to say that I look, at how data can fuel the product, especially here at Healthee and probably in other markets and other solutions as well. And I think when you have like a strong foundations and when you focus on real value, you become someone who can help the company grow, not just someone who manages the data. So kind of going back to my advice is that focus on what's important for the company, what goals you are trying to achieve, what goals your company and your manager tries to achieve, and work through that and not through the data or the schema or the technicalities around the data.
Very nice. Oh, well, Ron, it has been a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
All right. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, if somebody wanted to learn more about Healthee, where would they go?
So obviously healthee.com, available and open for everyone. You can contact us through there and you can see some live demos and learn about us.
And it's spelled Healthee, right? Healthee.com.
Right.
I love it. And
yes,
then
Healthee. Yeah.
That's great. And we'll get those links posted to the podcast page too. Well, again, Ron, thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And to all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up to date in the latest in data management education, you may go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to DATAVERSITY Talks, a podcast brought to you by DATAVERSITY. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.